Welcome back everybody to Kaizoku Dad channel. Today's video is a video that many of you have asked me to do an update on, and that's an Arlong deck for OP-05. And so, with that request, I kind of started thinking about, well, if we want an Arlong deck that is viable, or at least somewhat playable, in OP-05, you kind of have to build it around what's the current meta. And so, what are the two main decks that are the meta in OP-05? Obviously, Sakazuki and NL. Um, so the deck has to be able to perform well against those two decks at the very least, and perform decently against other semi-meta decks like Purple Luffy, or Red Purple Luffy, or and even Kata. So, with that in mind, this is the deck list that I have created specifically for this meta. And stay tuned, we're gonna go into that in just a bit. Okay, so here is the deck list that we are using. The main core of the deck is based around the Big Mom theme. So we have our Pudding Searcher, we have our Sparrow, and the reason why I think the Big Mom core is, I guess, more stronger for Arlong is simply because the Big Mom package is already running the trigger cards that you want to be playing in Arlong anyways. So triggers like Sanji, the blocker, Cracker, even Smoothie, those are staple 4-cost trigger cards that you want to be kind of summoning with Arlong's ability. So just adding Pudding to be able to search for those is already really good. And not to mention the 7-cost Big Mom is also very good for Arlong because you can play it on curve on 7, you can play it on 10. You can play Lin on your 10 Dawn turn and still be able to use your Arlong's ability. So that's very strong already. So just being able to do that is the main reason why we're running the Big Mom package. And with Sparrow, which also takes advantage of Arlong's ability and searches, that's already really good. We also added some of the East Blue cards that were from OP-03, I believe. Don't exactly remember, OP-03 or OP-04. It was one of those. But we're adding Chu and Kobi. And these are more of tech choices, simply because of how the meta is right now. So if we look at the meta, specifically between Sakazuki and Enel, we have a lot of strong 4-cost cards. So for Sakazuki, we have Kuzan, we have Lucci, and for Enel, we have Ohm, and I mean, not at 4 cost, but we do have Holly, so 3 cost. But with Cho, we can KO any rested character that's 4 cost or less. So I think it's a really good card because let's say, for example, you're playing against Sakazuki that used, they attacked with their Rob Lucci and they set up a blocker, to protect it and, put other things. You can simply, use your normal leader ability and attack 7k into leader, play Cho, KO the Lucci, so you get rid of a card and you're still kind of demanding a response from the opponent by either, discarding a card or taking a life. And I think that's really good. So Cho, I think is a really good meta pick for this deck, and it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful card. Off trigger as well. So if you get it from life and your opponent attacks with 4 cost or less, you can just KO it. So easy. Now, Kobi is another one that we added, another tech choice specifically for OP-05 meta. And that is because there are a lot of blockers in today's metas, specifically Sakazuki, but Also, purple Luffy, they use a lot of blockers. Both of those decks, are sometimes yellow for yellow in general. It struggles to get through because of how many blockers they have on the field. But thanks to Kurobi, you're able to get through those blockers, or at least one of them, and force the response from your opponent. So now Kurobi can be used offensively and defensively. Kurobi, I think it's kind of like when you're able to trigger Kurobi off of life, it feels like a beige, because let's say your opponent has multiple attackers, and they attack with one, it goes through you, and you trigger Kurobi. You can essentially block the second attack with just a 1k, because this card rests any card. Could be a 4 cost, a 5 cost, a 10 cost, it doesn't matter. It rests any card. So when you trigger it from life, it's like a beige. You stop attack. Imagine stopping, I don't know, a Borsellino 8k attack with just a Kurobi. That's value, right? And you rest it. So if you're in a turn where you're being faced, you have a lot of, your opponent has a lot of attackers, Kobi can rest. Next turn you can use X-Drake or Krieg to be able to KO one or two things, or Cho, in combination with Cho. You can KO two things, build up a board, and still kind of press the attack. That's why we also added 2 copies of Punk Gibson, because when you see an opportunity, you can use Punk Gibson to either rest one of their 4 cost or lower blockers, or just a 4 cost card that is high priority, like Kuzan, or even a Rob Lucci and Ohm, whatever, what have you. You can rest it. Next turn, use your Cho or your X-Drake, kill it, attack, develop a body, keep building up your board without losing momentum. So that is a very strong. Those are very strong plays in general. So these are the cards that I've included. So we only have 1 copy of Krieg, just because I think it's a good card, but we don't want to see too many of them, especially because we have X-Drake already. We have Cho. These are cards that KO, 4 cost or less. So we don't need multiple effects, but having options as to which body to play at the right time, I think, is good. The Punk Gibson is a good counter. It helps protect us, and it might potentially set up future combos if you choose. We have Katakuri as well. So Katakuri, we can use it to kind of control the opponent's board, or maybe put something back into our life that we want to see again. So like Shirahoshi or a Sanji, maybe even a pudding, whatever you want to add back into your hand, increase your life. Katakuri is that flexible. But yes, so this is the deck. We're going to go over kind of the game style, the Mulligan. So stay tuned. Let's start with the Mulligan. So the thing with this deck is that it's not an all-in, very aggro, finish the game quickly kind of deck. I know a lot of Arlong decks are, but I think in today's meta, the Arlong deck that tries to be super aggro just loses very quickly. It just runs out of resources. So this deck is kind of not slow and not super aggro. It's definitely a good balance. So with that in mind, like the Mulligan, what you want to look for is you want to have a searcher, whether that be pudding or Perospero. Either one of those in your hand is great. Ideally, you do want pudding though, because pudding is just so versatile. But again, if you have a hand with no pudding, but you do have Perospero, I would probably keep that hand, just because Perospero takes advantage of your leader's ability, and it searches when it KOs. So, yeah. So back to the Mulligan, you want 1 searcher, and then you want one to two of your trigger cards. So that could be like a smoothie, that could be a Sanji, that can be a cracker. You don't want your East Blues just yet. It's fine if you have them, but you definitely don't want to play them early on. A lot of the East Blue triggers like Kobi or Cho, like they are meant for the mid to late game because you want to use them either to swing the board back to your favor, um, or kind of go in for the kill or put a lot of pressure on your opponent. So if you have them in your hand, but you have, other 4K, your other trigger cards like Smoothie or Cracker, then it's fine. But generally speaking, I wouldn't keep a lot of the East Blue cards in my opening hand if I don't have any searchers. So I would definitely just mulligan that. But yeah, it's always important. Have a searcher and at least two attackers that can make use of your leader's ability. Maybe just if your opening hand has one of these attackers, it's fine. Potentially you can draw into another one, especially if you have a searcher, then it's perfectly fine. Now that we finished talking about the mulligan, we can talk about the early game. And so, like I mentioned before, this deck is not super aggro in your face, um, you know, kind of deck. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to pressure early. So your first two turns, whether you're going first or second, you want to develop at least two bodies using your leader's ability, um, because that will make your mid game, you know, just be easier and more in your favor. So that is why in the early game, the cards that you definitely want to see are your Pearl Sparrow, your Smoothie, your Sanji, and your Cracker. A lot of the time, like during the early game, your hero or your leader is attacking for 7k, and then having an extra body to swing, either for 5 or for 6. You don't have to relentlessly go all in attacking 7k twice. Unless cards in your you don't have a lot of cards in your hand that you can play, uh, then swinging for 7k twice is perfectly fine. A lot of the times I find when I go first and I go, on my third dawn turn, just use my leader's ability to summon like a Smoothie or a Sparrow. Next turn I'm at 5. I can You'll have 3 dawn to use for your leader's ability, and that'll give you 2 dawn left. And you can use those 2 dawns to either swing for 7 with the first character that you brought out last turn. You can put 1 dawn and swing for 6, and then play like a Smoothie with the remaining dawn. That's also very efficient. But I think swinging for 6 is really good because we're in a meta where 2Ks, depending on the deck, 2Ks are not as bountiful, I guess, or there's just not a lot of players are using or have like a full 12 cards of 2K counters. A lot of people are running, between 10 to 12, sometimes 10 or less. Some people are running 8. So 2K counters are kind of really scarce right now, unless of course you're Katakuri or you're Purple Luffy, and you have like 12 2Ks. In that case, it's good to swing for 6K. Get those 2Ks out, man, because you're setting up yourself for yourself like in the late game to make it easier. And if they use a lot of their 2Ks early on in the late game where they need to like protect the body or counter out of an attack, like they won't have any 2Ks left. So swinging for 6, I think in this part is where like this deck separates itself from very aggressive Arlong decks, because very aggressive Arlong decks would probably swing for 7 because they want to get your life down to 0 as quick as possible. In this deck, you're putting the pressure, but what you're really targeting is their resource. Swinging for 6 is an attack not at their life, but an attack at their hand, at their 2K. You're checking to see if they have that counter. And if they do, chances are they'll use it, right? So the 6K swing is an attack on their hand, not their life. A 7K swing is an attack on their life. And that's where a lot of aggro decks will try and do. But that's kind of the early game. You want to develop this board, put pressure, but not to the point where you're like, you are the one running out of resources. That's why in this deck, a lot of the times, when you see through my gameplay, like if I trigger like a smoothie or a cracker from life, a lot of the times I'm not gonna like discard a card to play it, because you're just losing. I don't like losing cards, and I'm gonna be able to summon this card with less Dawn anyways, right? Like I'm still cheating it out. I'm not paying the full Dawn for it. And that's what trigger does, right? Like when you trigger a card from life, you're not paying 4 Dawn. You're paying a card from your hand. But with your leader's ability, you're not paying 4 Dawn either. You're paying 3, which is, more obviously from discarding a card, but I think it's still, you get to keep that extra card. It could be a counter, it could be whatever. So a lot of the times you have to think like, do I want to trigger this card and lose a card from my hand to build up this board, or to play this character, which I'm probably gonna play regardless anyway with my leader's ability, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you trigger early, you don't have to automatically do it, right? It's an option. Look at the state of the board, how it's developing, and if that extra body is beneficial for you, or not, right? In the late game, obviously you're gonna, when it's like one turn away from like you setting up lethal and you pull up an extra card, an extra body, like of course trigger it, right? So keep that in mind. Like just because it's a trigger and it triggers from life, you may or you may not want to actually use the trigger to play the body. There are situations where you don't really need to. It's back to that concept where the body on the board is attacking resource instead of attacking life. Because at the end of the day, when resources are low, the attacking to life is much more easier. So yeah, that's the early game. Okay, now the mid game. So mid game is where we play all the fun cards. Cards like Linlin, X-Drake, Krieg. If you put on the pressure and you have forced to either your opponent to kind of like swing into your characters, with their 4-cost characters like or if you're playing against Sakazuki, they've probably already used Lucci to KO your board, and it's perfectly fine. That's kind of what you want in a way, because now you're prepared to play Krieg and X-Drake, or even Linlin. Linlin's really great when your opponent is struggling to answer your board, when they are behind. So like if you have 2 or 3 bodies, on the board, constantly poking at your opponent, playing the Linlin will oftentimes force them to give you an extra life. And then Linlin is just a big body that they have to deal with. If you are going, head to head with your opponent, like they're KOing some of your stuff, you are KOing some of their stuff, or if you're behind, X-Drake and Krieg kind of help solidify the board back in your favor. Assuming, of course, they don't get KO'd next turn. But that's perfectly fine because they've done their job. And, in that case, you still have more Linlins, you still have category for late game. But this is kind of the mid game that you want to be able to develop. X-Drake works really well if you have a Punk Gibson in hand. We're gonna go over some of the combos. I already mentioned some at the start, but I'll make I'll go over slides to show you the combos that this deck can do. But X Drink Punk and Punk Gibson is a really strong combo. When they've, Rob Lucci your board, they attack, Punk Gibson the Rob Lucci, X Drink it, gone. You develop a board, and it's great. So same thing with Krieg, right? This deck only runs one copy, but I think one copy is enough. You don't want two, or multiple, because it has no counter, and you do have to discard a card. But if it's discarding one card to kill like two for cost or less, that's perfect. And it's double attack. So the double attack, again, it's useful because if it goes through, that's 2 life for one Dawn. That's great. If it doesn't go through, then they have to discard 2 2Ks. So 2 cards for your one Dawn, and that's still value. So Krieg is good, but not multiple versions of Krieg. Maybe not so good. So this deck runs one. You can try 2. I think 2 is the max that I would do, but I think for my playstyle, I do prefer the Linlins and the Katakuris. But if you want to add another copy of Krieg, you can definitely cut down like on one Katakuri. If Katakuri is not, the card that fits your playstyle. Okay, so that's pretty much the mid game. And well, the late game is simply just putting down your Linlins and using your leader's ability. So like I mentioned, at 10 Dawn, you can play Linlin. You have the last 3 Dawn, put 2 on your leader, rest 1, and use his ability. So just imagine playing Linlin, your opponent, either gives you life or they discard a life. You use your leader's ability to attack 7k, another 7k into their leader, right? If they have a blocker, you can rest it with Cho, so that 7 attack goes straight into the leader, which forces them to discard 2 or lose another life, right? Or develop a board with Cracker, or put up a Sanji to protect you from their attack next turn. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. That's why Lin on turn 10 is just a really good play. Now, Lin over what's his name? Enel. Rush Enel. Enel is also a 7 cost, and he is Rush. And so in a very aggressive Arlong kind of deck, I think Enel works really good. But in this deck where it's aggressive, but it's not like blind aggression, where it's like where the face is the place to be, where you're trying to hit life. This is where, again, this deck kind of separates itself from other very aggressive Arlong decks. So Lin is a card where it can give you an extra card, or it takes away another card from your opponent, right? Like it's like gone, they don't use it. So that's why, this deck uses Big Mom over the Rush Enel. But if you like the Rush Enel, I think it works good. Just keep in mind, though, that the Rush Enel, like his second ability, where it allows you to discard a life instead of being removed from the field, it's good. It's just that life just fits better in the Enel lead with Enel's leader ability, not so much other yellow cards, because you regaining a life is just a little bit harder, especially if you're not either Katakuri or Big Mom leader or Enel. Since you're Arlong, you regaining a life is just, it's practically not there. The only 2 cards that let you do it are these 2 cards, so Lin and Katakuri, right? So if you have Enel, you lose Linlin's ability to potentially gain a life. And yeah, I just don't see it being as good. But again, this is a different deck from a very aggressive Arlong deck. So if you're in an aggressive Arlong deck, yeah, I can see you making the case for Rush and L. But yeah, so this is kind of your late game category. Like I mentioned, is there to kind of control your opponent's board or increase the value that you get from cards that you've already played and that have trigger cards and putting them back into your life. So that's why category is just really good, because throughout the game there's going to be cards on your field that you've played, like a Cho or a Kurobi, that's there, and you haven't used it outside of like the first time you attacked with your leader. You can recycle it with category. So that's really good. But yeah, this is kind of like the late game. Let's look at some of the combos that this deck has. I'm sure you've already seen them. You know, like I've already talked about some of them, but I want you. I just want to present it. Okay, so my favorite combo from this deck, you know, is around Punk Gibson, right? So you can Punk Gibson something, and on your turn, you can use Chew, you can use X Drake, you can use Krieg. That is always a really fun kind of interaction that a lot of people don't expect today, like in this current meta in the OP-05. Um, well, first of all, not a lot of people expect an Arlong, right? And if they do see an Arlong, they expect a very aggressive kind of Arlong. So when you Punk Gibson, then Punk Gibson their Kuzan, Punk Gibson their Lucci, Punk Gibson their Ohm or Holly, and then kill it with Chew or an X Drake, they're like, what? And that's always really fun to see. Um, so that this is one of my favorite combos. Another combo that we have is again with the Katakuri. You can Katakuri your Chew, you can Katakuri your Kurobi. Like I mentioned in this at the start of the video, Kurobi can sometimes act like a Beige. So if your opponent has a wide board, right, and you have a Kurobi on the field, you can play Katakuri, put Kurobi back into your life, and Kurobi can potentially stop an attack from on your next opponent's turn, right? If they have multiple attackers. And again, the best part is that Kurobi can rest any card, no cost. I mean, like it has no cost minimum, so it can rest the 10 cost Big Mom, it can rest the 9 cost Whitebeard, it can rest the 7 cost Russian L if it has an attack, right? It can rest anything. So if I think good decks are flexible, and the flexibility of using Kurobi offensively, defensively is really good. Okay, so that's another combo with Katakuri. You have the classic Shirahoshi Katakuri combo, and you have the Sanji blocker Katakuri combo. So those are all the combos that you can potentially use with Katakuri. And so yeah, so it's just up to you on how you want to use those combos and the situation that you find yourself in. So before getting into the gameplay, I do want to talk a little bit about Kurobi and, Amaru. Both cards are designed to be able to get through blockers and help end the game. Okay, so there's going to be, both of these cards are really good. I just want to say that straight out. My main deck is NL, and Amaru is amazing. It helps me win a lot of games. But in this deck, specifically for Arlong, this is an Arlong problem, because Kurobi's ability can only be used if your leader has an East Blue. So Arlong or Kuro, I think, are the East Blue heroes that are green. So only they can use it so far. But the Arlong, which is green-yellow, has access to both of these cards. Having too many of both cards in your deck is not good, right? So naturally you have to kind of choose one. You can try mixing them up, but I think, being consistent on choosing either one is a little bit better, just because you know what to expect. Now, the reason why I chose Kurobi and over Amaru is simply because, well, there's a couple of reasons. One, it rests anything. Amaru cannot get through Sabo, 5 cost Sabo blocker. It cannot get past Queen blocker. Any 5 cost or higher blockers, it cannot get through. Kobi can't. And then Kobi has the benefit of, of being able to take advantage of your leader's ability. So you can attack for 7 and rest something. So that is already a really strong ability. The second option is because he's like a Beige. If you trigger him from life on your opponent's turn, you can use it and block potentially. You can potentially block, an attacker that would have ended the game. Amaru does that as well, right? Because you can trash 2 cards and gain a life. So it can do that as well. Both of these cards can potentially save you. With Amaru, you do have to discard 2 cards, which can be a little rough. But Kobi, you don't need any cards in your hand. You can just play it, right? As long as you're Arlong. Amaru is really good because it gives you an extra 3k, in addition to resting a card. And that is a really strong effect. Don't get me wrong. Really strong. Okay. Perhaps if you want to, I know, this deck only chooses to run Kobi, but if you want to experiment running, 2 Kobi and 2 Amarus, I can't see, the combo where you use Kobi and you rest, let's say the 5 cost, what's his name, Sabo, and then use Amaru to rest, the Borsalino. That's a 5 Dawn combo, right? To rest those 2 blockers, but it can be done. But personally, I just like Kobi. He has a 1k counter. He can be comboed with Katakuri. He is very flexible. Amaru is really good to push for game or to pressure, really, but the flexibility wise, I think Kobi just has better uses. Just has more wiggle room to be able to use it in so many different ways. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's why I chose Kobi over Amaru. But again, if you want to use Amaru, go ahead. You can tweak this deck to your own play style, and that's what One Piece is. Just play it your way, your style. So this is the deck that I made for the Arlong OP-05 update. I hope you guys enjoy it and give this deck a try. If you give it a try, let me know how it went. If you've changed some cards, let me know as well, and let me know your results. So I'm going to go into some gameplay, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Thank you very much. We're going against Purple Luffy, going first. We're going to keep this because we got a pudding. We got Sanji, Linlan. I think it's pretty good. Start off here. Get the Peros. Very nice. Okay, so far so good. Okay. We're gonna attack for 7, use effect for the Peros. 2k, cool. I'm gonna take that. We're gonna do 6 here. We're just poking him. Play this. We're just gonna take this, and then I think we're just gonna start big momming. I'll block that. Or counter. What do you get? Another 2k, okay. Attack for 8, 7? It's deciding whether Paros or leader. Let's go for the Paros. We're gonna allow that. I guess it's gonna be Big Mom after Big Mom. Okay. Okay, so he let that go. We're gonna end our turn here. So this is a pretty good spot for us. We're at 4 life. We got 2 more big bombs to play. We got stuff to get through as well. Once we get to 10 Dawn, I think it's going to be really, really good for us. I think we're just gonna 1k out of this. Yeah, okay. So now let's see. I think we just want to poke, but we're gonna play our big bomb first just to be safe. Okay, we got another life. The question is 2k or 2 attacks, or just 1 attack in. I think yeah, I think we're just gonna do 1 attack in. Not too worried about this right now because next turn I can do Big Mom and Cho to kill him, so it's okay. Oh, I forgot to attack with Big Mom. Oh well. Okay, we're gonna use this. Actually, no. Oof. There goes the other Big Mom. That sucks. We will use this though. Guess we'll accept this. Good thing we got that. So we're going to attack. Going to attack. We are going to attack. Okay, so 7. I think I'm just going to put Shirahoshi back. I'm not going to use the effect. I'm just going to block for 1. Okay. I'm going to use a trigger. Get that out. And I don't think we need another Katakuri. I don't think so. Yeah, we're not gonna need another one. Just gonna do 8. I'm gonna use our ability. I'm gonna use Cho. Just gonna kill this. And do twice here. And do another one here. I'm gonna leave 2 up because just in case. I'm not committing too much because he has a blocker anyways. There's no point. Let me see. He has potentially the rush guy, right? I mean, not the rush guy. Jamblay. He can Jamblay me. He can do a lot of things. 10k is just a lot. So we're gonna do no targets and then just this. It's definitely gonna Luffy. So we just need to get through these attacks. I think I just dumped my whole hand here, right? Yeah, I just dumped my whole hand here. Let me just block this one. I was even play for 4. That's it, yeah. GG's. Okay, going against Sokka, going first. We're gonna keep this hand. Yeah, put in here. I guess we'll go for the only target here. And let's draw Borsellino, of course. Do 7 using the card effect. We're gonna go into Keta and enter. I'm gonna take that, pudding, which is good. Let's see, we're gonna do 3. Put 1 here. Put down our Sanji. Takes the life, and then we're gonna use the pudding again. We're really trying to find our big moms here. Six cards, 8 cards. Okay. $6K into Cracker. We'll try 1 2K. It's okay. Okay. Now he's gonna use more stuff, which is okay. Not the pudding. Well, we got another cracker, which is good. Let's see here. Ideally, I want to leave 2 up for Punk Gibson. So 3. I guess I do 1 big swing. Yeah, I just do 1 big swing. So I kill the boss, or they take life. Or they just discard 2 cards. Cool. Do I want to attack? I kind of do. Yeah. Alright. Whoa, sorry, I just dropped my mic. Sorry for that. But, cool. Just got really excited. Alright, so our Punk Gibson here can probably rest a Borsellino or the Lucci. Okay, so we're gonna Rebecca. Hina, yes, 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 yes. Seven. Alright. We're gonna rest the Borsellino here. We don't mind losing the Sanji. That's the thing. Like, it's okay if we lose him. Okay, he's gonna Helmblaze. Now, he's gonna Helmblaze this. Even if I use a 2K, he's still gonna Hound Blaze and attack into it. So it's better to just let him die. Let him Hound Blaze this and then take a life. That's really good. One. Oh, it hurts. It hurts to let go of a 2k, but I think we have to. Because we're gonna do X Drake and Sanji next turn. And then I want the Katakuri to be able to recycle stuff, so. Alright. It hurts, but we gotta do it. Another Katakuri. Cool. Okay. So 5. So 3 Dawn. Okay. So I need 3 Dawn for him and 5. And that gives me another 4 Dawn. Okay. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, right? 4. Okay. We're gonna... We're not gonna go for game just yet. So we can do this. We can do 1, 3 here. Okay, so he wanted to keep that. Cool. Did he draw another Hina? Okay. So the Shirahoshi's nice. I'm gonna take that. We are not gonna trigger. Okay. I'm gonna do another 7 here. We're not going to use the effect. And then we're going to put this to life. We really need our big mons. Alright. No Hound Blaze, it's really good. I guess we'll take that. Get rid of that. And I'm gonna probably use the ability next turn, right? So we're gonna block this with Sanji. Okay. I'm gonna do one, force him to do 8. Oh, I messed up. It's 9. That hurt. That hurt my soul. I'm sorry. That just really hurt my soul. That just hurt. It hurt so much. That was my misplay. It's okay. I'm not going to use the blocker. We're just going to use that guy. Ugh. That misplay just hurt me so bad. Whatever. It just hurts so bad. Freak. Alright. Now that he has 2 of these guys, then we're just gonna have to go face. Alright, we're just loading up on life and cards and hoping for the best. It was a really tough misplay. It's okay. 9 cards. Because then you'll probably do 11? Can I even block 11? So 9. It's easier to block 9, right? So 7, 9, 1. Yeah, we'll block this one. 7, 9, 1. Alright. 7, 8, oh, 5, 6, 9, 11. Not enough. Oof, but good old trusty beige. And that's how you do it. Now, can we get a... No, I guess it'd be too much to ask. Let's see. I have to get through a blocker and a life. So, how many 2Ks has he used? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He needs 2 2Ks. If he has exactly 2 2Ks, and this needs to be 8. So, alright, whatever. I wish this was a Kobi. This puts me at 7. Is 2 7 attacks better? Well, if I do 8, and he'll be at 7. So if he has the counters, he has it. That's it. GG's, man. That was a tough misplay, but it is what it is. On to the next one. Okay, so this is another Sokka match. They chose to go second. We're going first. I'm going to go ahead and keep this into pudding. Alright. I would love to do this, but we have 2 big moms. So if we don't take one, both of them are going to go to the bottom. And we do not want that to happen. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and attack. Bring down a cracker. Peel off. Off of trigger. Very nice for him. Take that. We are going to try and rest that. That's 4 cards from his hand. And that's fine because we still have this and next Drake to kill it once he swings with it. So that's cool. Don't mind that. But yeah, 4 cards. Yeah, not doing that. Okay. Okay, take that. It's okay. So chew, and then Sparrow. Right? Alright, actually I'm gonna play Sanji. For most mana efficiency. Because I want to play Big Mom too, so. But we can wait until 10? Potentially? We'll see. Okay. And then I'm assuming Lucci? Oh no. Interesting. We'll hold off on this because we're going to play X-Drake next turn. Perfect. So 5, 6, 7. If we want to leave 2 open, we cannot use his leader ability. So I think it's better just to do 2 attacks. Okay, you got 1 Borsalino out. 1 of that out. That's good. Okay. Okay. I hope he puts down the Lucci before he attacks. Probably will. Yes, 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 yes. Just walks right into it. Alright. Swing 7 here. Use card effect to kill him. And then we Big Mama. Nice. Got a life. We are going to counter out of this. Big Kuzon. That is very scary. Alright. I'm going to do 8. We're going to have to flood the board here a bit. I'm going to do 6. Alright. Can't do much about the Kuzon. We can just try and pressure through board. He trashed Great Eruption. He couldn't he have just used it and then trashed? Okay. Well, I'm not the second player. Okay. Let's see what he decides to do here. Attack into the pudding. Good choice. You can clear this with just so many things, but... Ooh, do I dare? He's at 6. Yeah, let's do it. Rabuchi. How he doesn't completely clear everything. Now at least we get something with Pearl Sparrow. Alright, we got this. Okay. I really want to take the Lin, but I don't think I should. I should probably take the Sanji and put double blocker. That's what makes the most sense. because I don't have a lot of cards to block anyways. It hurts, but it is what it is. We're gonna do this. Alright, let's see what they do. We really need a Kobi to kind of get through. There's 3 cards that he has to deal with. 2, because I'll probably have to block at least once. We're gonna have to block this, I think. Because we don't want another Lucci coming out taking care of these 2. So just in case, right? Just in case he Helm Blazes, KOs something. It's whatever's. Sure, well, she's good. Not what I was looking for. I'm gonna keep the 2 case. I was looking for Kobi, but no Kobi. Okay. Oh, we got him, but we don't actually need him, right? Yeah, because there's no blockers. 7. No effect. Alright. I think that's it. I think that's it. Everything on Sanji? Yes. Cool. We redeemed ourselves. We redeemed ourselves. GG's.